Welcome to the Human Happy Hour. It's a special edition because kind of just happened. I interviewed Terry Tucker not that long ago, who is a cancer survivor. He had a tumor in his leg and he got it amputated above the knee. He's an ex-SWAT negotiator. He's a motivational speaker and he has a book. Well, anyways, we're at the end of the conversation, the interview I had with him. We start talking about politics, and we realized, and I kind of realized, and he realized already, I'm left and he's right. And I said, it would be good with the election coming up if we just had a little conversation because we're being so civil with each other, and I'm so used to social media with everybody freaking out on everybody. Maybe we should do that and see what happens because neither of us are like expert politician anything. I'm terrible at names and dates, and he's claimed that he was worried as well that he wouldn't have enough information. But we just two guys talking about who should be president that have opposite views. Here it is. I hope you enjoy it. Hello,
Jason. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. I had a good day. Everything went swimmingly today. How about you?
Swimmingly? Good. Yeah, no complaints. Starting to get cold here, so
I gotta thank you. I honestly I didn't I'll confess to something. Alex told me that you replied because I've offered to do stuff like that before, and I guess I'm lumping the hundreds of times that I've said, hey, we should talk, and like nobody ever gets back to me, and I was like, he answered? Oh yes. He's like, yeah. Yes, thank you for that because
you're more than welcome. I'm sure I'm going to prove my ignorance in all its glory tonight. So
I already have been practicing my caveats all day. Okay, I have a terrible memory. I'm terrible with names. I'm terrible with dates. I almost always have to have some sort of computer brain nearby for me to double check. But I do double check myself. That's where I think that I it's good because usually when I have any kind of debate, unfortunately, it's in social media, and that's a terrible place to do it.
it is. That's true.
Yeah. But yeah, I actually wanted to ask your advice on how you wanted to run it.
I was thinking about
ideas.
that too. It's like, do we just pick issues? Do we? I mean, I don't know.
Well, I have some ideas.
Okay.
I thought of either one of two things, either to simulate two people talking about it normally. Hey, who are you voting for? And the person can answer, and then it can begin. I didn't read them yet because I didn't want to be pre-prepared. You know what I mean? I just think that's lame. But I did type in the chat GPT and it gave me references. I said, if you were debating someone Trump versus Harris, and I said Trump, but I know you said that you weren't necessarily a Trump voter. You just said that you didn't vote for somebody that you wouldn't vote for somebody that went against your faith for as far
Right.
as okay. But I said this because there's only one choice really, but maybe not. Um, was for Harris, what would 20 topics that would be brought up? So I do have a list here. But
let's use your list. That'll be cool.
Okay, because man, I'm looking at it right now. I'm just like, ee. Okay, that would be fun. Okay, so the first one is border policy, which I don't know. I don't know if what you know about the border policy, and I know what I know. Not much.
Yeah, I mean, I think the border policy has been something that both parties have sort of fumbled and passed the buck on for decades. I mean, one of the nurses.
I totally agree.
Yeah. I mean, one of the nurses that cares for me is a DACA woman. I mean, her parents came here illegally. She was born here in the United States. I've got one of my medical assistants who cares for me, whose husband was deported this year. And they had to get, I mean, they don't have a lot of money, and they had to get an attorney and go through the process and get him back with his kids. There's a way to do this, without just letting anybody come in, but I don't think it's such a hot potato. Somebody's got to get up, stand up and lead. I don't care if it's a Democrat or Republican. Somebody's got to stand up and lead.
Uh, yeah, pretty much what I agree with. Usually the topic of this is one of, are we, can we say Trump as your side? Because I mean, unless you're
Sure,
voting for
sure.
somebody else.
I'm probably much more conservative. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Um, Usually what is said is Trump's terrible on the border, or Trump is great on the border if you're right wing, and on the left they say the exact opposite. They go Trump on the right. I mean, they say the opposite. Harris is terrible on the border. She had 4 years, all that stuff, and I'm just and so that's usually the argument. Um, what I don't know. What do you think about that? Like, do you think Trump was good or bad on the border? I mean, you just basically said they both passed the buck. I agree.
I don't I guess I look at it as this is bigger than the presidency. This has got to come from Congress. This has got to be both sides getting together. And from what I understand, they had a bipartisan package. Now, people are going to say, Trump ruined that, and said that, don't vote for it. I want to get a win. I want Biden to have a lose. If that's the case, that's horrible. That's totally ridiculous. But I also would say that if Biden had enough clout, he could have said, yeah, that's what Trump's saying, but you know what? We need to get this done for the American people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a huge issue. I mean, with the amount of fentanyl that's coming across the border, with God knows how many terrorists are just sitting out there, waiting for something, another 9/11, whatever it ends up being.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure there's also all those families, from Venezuela that are just trying to get out of poverty,
Mm-hmm.
abject poverty, and just have a better way of life here in the United States. So
Yeah.
we as the country got to do a better job on this.
Yeah, I agree. I think they call it steel manning when I make the argument for the opposite side.
Okay.
I think that's what it's called. I'm not really like there's straw manning is when you lie and when steel manning. But I do think that the Democrats pulled out that agreement because election was coming up
Yeah.
and they did have 3 years. They could have done it.
Yeah.
But they pulled it out at the end. And I can see now, do I think it's okay to swoosh the bill because you don't want Biden to have the win? I think that's lame. I
I agree.
think you should have just given them if you really mean what you mean about the border, if you really care, then you're just going to give them the win for that. But I do understand it was politics is also because it was done at the last minute kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I also I was watching a debate yesterday. Do you know who Destiny is?
No.
Oh, it's this crazy debate. It was him against I think 20 Trump supporters. So they all sit in a circle around him,
Okay.
and there's a clock and it says 20 minutes. So he'll say his claim, and like the first claim was something like Donald Trump initiated a riot on a coup on January 6th. And then this little clock goes off, boop, 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 and they'll have to run up and grab the chair. And if they get the chair, they get to sit there. But the
Yeah.
interesting thing about this debate was um, the 20 people around have little red flags that they can put up when they think the Trump supporter should go. So there's 21 of them. Sorry, it was like 21 of them. So when it gets to no 20, I'm right. When it gets to 11, the moderator will go pause. You've been voted out by the majority. So Trump supporters are telling the Trump supporter when they got to go, and then they go to the next thing in this 20. So he goes through like 5 topics. But anyway, long story still long. I know one of the things that he said was, um, you could make a trillion-foot wall and put guards and dogs and missiles and put a moat with alligators, but the problem is um the asylum policy is the problem. So they come in, they say, I want asylum, and then we don't have enough ability to administrate that.
Yeah. We don't have enough courts. We don't have enough judges. We don't have enough
Yeah.
attorneys. Yeah. Yeah.
So like, yeah, no one's getting any. It's not illegally that they're asylumed and then illegal because they stay if they get through finally. And then meanwhile, there's these awful towns, I guess they set up where people are just housed until it's their turn to be in front of the judge that's available. I would say that is the problem,
I,
right?
I, I would agree. Yeah. if there's a backlog, I would say it's probably on the legal side of,
Yeah.
can this person make their claim? Yeah, we agree. Okay, do what you got to do.
Yeah. How do you feel about this might be a little well actually it'll be on here, I'm sure. So we kind of just agree on that.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
okay. We can do that.
I love it. I also wanted to say we are leaving out a voice, definitely, probably a few voices, but one of the voices we're leaving out of this because there's no one here for that are the people that are I'm not voting for either side because of the genocide. There's those people, and although from my standpoint, I'm like, I think Trump is so horrible that I think it's we get Harrison and then we start pushing her and then we spend the next 4 years trying to change things with Congress and like because I feel I've been accused of having Trump derangement syndrome where I feel that Trump is actually going to try and turn this into a fascist dictatorship. I believe that because he said it and he's got a lot of people in place to help him. Um, so what um what is it that how do you feel about like the Trump derangement syndrome as far as that goes? Like
I'd like to say there's checks and balances. I think that's, our system. I'd like to say that I think yes, the Supreme Court is conservative, but I also think the Supreme Court is smart enough. It's like, yeah, no, no, you're not getting this. You can't do this. And I'm sure
I
there's plenty of appellate court and federal court judges on both sides that would be like, no, no, this is, you look at a guy like George Washington, who was incredibly popular and certainly could have had a third, probably even a fourth term if he wanted, but thought that for the best interest of the country, I'm going to step back. We're going to bring some new blood in here and go down that route. And I applaud him for that. And I don't, no, I don't want a Putin. I don't want a
Mhm.
dictator. I want new blood. I don't like Harris. I don't agree with a lot of her things, but you know what? If she wins, she's our president. That's the way it
Mhm.
goes. I'm not gonna yell and scream and take a gun and try to kill. No, we're not.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. But I agree with you, and we need to sort of have some people in waiting. Like when your term's over, who's next? I mean, I love
Yeah.
having spent a number of years in Cincinnati as a police officer and stuff like that. There's the old Roman, Cincinnatius, who was basically, I do my work, I come to Rome and I represent my fellow constituents, and then I go back and do my work. There's a great big statue of him, in Cincinnati and stuff like that. I don't think our founding fathers ever expected politician to be a job description that you did or a career description. You were a blacksmith, you were a farmer, you were whatever you were. You gave X number of years of your life
Mhm.
to help your community, to help your country, and then you went back and did what you did and let some new blood come in and things like. I think that's healthy. I don't like people that are in there for 40 and 50 years and then
Yeah.
just sit on panels and then go and invest in the companies that they pass the laws for. I'm like, that would be insider trading if you and I did it, but for them, it's okay.
Oh my God, it's so refreshing to hear a conservative say this stuff because it's really not us against each other. I mean, it's so the corporations have lobbyists that have all the politicians in their back pocket. I mean, George Carlin said it best. Like they don't care about you. They don't care about you.
No,
Um, and that is also what I was saying before. The voice that's not here is voting for third party. But the problem with third party is you're either taking away from the right or the left when you do that because and it is sure it's a protest vote. I get it. Um, and normally, like if it were, I, don't know, I guess George Bush or something versus some Democrat, I'd be like, all right, I see what you guys are doing. But like I feel as though this time it's scarier, and I like what you said, and I wish I agreed with you about the judges and the checks and balances. But do you not believe all the information that's out there about how he has how Trump has basically packed the judges, not just the Supreme Court, but throughout the country with supporters and election deniers. Um, I mean, do you think that's just BS or
No, I mean, yes, I think there are some people out there that, side with him on the election denier thing. Yeah, yes, I absolutely do. But where I guess I feel comfortable is that, Trump made this Supreme Court conservative, and they haven't given him wins on everything that he's wanted. So it's not like it's a blank check. It's like whatever conservative pace we're working on, that's what we're going to do. We're just going to vote the conservative side. No, we're going to look at the law and how that goes. So I feel I don't think it's been a blank check for him with the highest court, with the final arbitrator of you guys make the
yeah,
decision, you decide yes or no on whatever. Same thing with Gore and Bush.
yeah,
Hey, we've got to take this to the Supreme Court. You didn't see Al Gore going crazy like, you know what, the Supreme Court put Bush in, I shouldn't have done it. You need to rally and take over the country. He accepted the court's decision, and I think that was, I don't know if I'd have been that gracious, in all honesty. I mean,
Gore, oh yeah.
you
Wow,
know,
yeah, that was, and he even had to he even swore him in because he was the
yeah,
vice president. That was pretty amazing.
it was.
Yeah. um so after the Supreme Court basically said the president can commit crimes as long as the official, as long as I can't believe I've been saying this out loud. That as long as whatever they decreed at the time was an official act, which they did not define what an official act is. Um, do you think that what's your feelings on that particular thing?
I mean, I look at it the same way I kind of look at, Kennedy training all those people to go in and overthrow Cuba. Kind of the Bay of Pigs, and I'm sort of old enough. I mean, I was like really, really, really young when that happened, but old enough that it's like, yeah, that probably wasn't a legal thing that you did. But
Hmm.
nobody was like, let's prosecute Kennedy because he tried to overthrow a communist regime that's 100 miles off the coast of Florida,
Hmm.
or anything like that. So no, I don't think people. I think if you do something crooked, you should be held accountable for it. But the question is, are you held accountable in a court, or are you held accountable at the ballot box? That was wrong. I'm voting you out. You're gone. I don't want to have anything to do with you. And I think I'd rather it be through the ballot box. And I think you do have to have, I mean, I'll look at it from my own perspective as a police officer. Graham versus Connor is the Supreme Court decision that basically says I don't have to be perfect as a police officer. I have to basically make a decision in that split second based on the information that I have at that moment. And
Hmm.
you're not allowed to go back on Monday morning and say, well, this happened and you should have known that. No, no, the Supreme Court said, no, I don't have to know that. That can't be held against me because I didn't know it. So I think the same thing here with the president. I think you've got to give them a little bit of latitude to do what's right for the country, but I don't know where that line is, where you draw that line and say, okay, this is latitude and this is criminal.
And well, that's what's scary though, is nobody knows what the line is because they
Yeah,
didn't define it.
yeah,
So coming from it from everyone's ignorance right now of what it means for an official act, Trump could, because he said many times he wants to arrest the people that are against him. He wants to arrest sure, but what's an official act? What if he says that I'm this is an official act. I'm saying this is a threat to the country. What I mean, that is a scary thing to me. Now, will the Supreme Court back him? Well, they made it. They made the law. Like they
yeah, they did. They did. And they did define it. And maybe that was on purpose, so that maybe we can
yeah.
take this on a case by case basis and just look at the facts of a particular case, not give it the whole wide brush that, everything falls under this. So,
Yeah.
but that's just it. I mean, be careful what you ask for. I mean, we're
Ugh,
pointing the finger at Trump right now. Who knows? Harris wins. We'll start pointing the finger at her. Look what she did. That was wrong. She should be held liable.
sure.
Lock her up.
I,
This
I
Hillary Clinton.
agree.
Lock her up. Okay.
I agree with you, and that's why I would never want that to be there.
No.
However, Trump often talks about all the things he wants to do, and they're not good. Like you don't at least don't hear the rhetoric. I mean, sure, is there a president that hasn't done something illegal? I doubt it.
Right.
I
Exactly.
really doubt it. But do they say things like I want to revoke the license of ABC News? Like it it smells like what happened in Germany in 1930s. It smells a lot like that. And that is what scares me. And I get upset that people don't go, ah, God, you ridiculous. Like you don't think they didn't say that then? When they didn't the Nazis didn't take over with missiles and rockets and guns. They took over legally.
Yeah. Yeah. They got voted in. Yeah.
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 And then came in and they changed some rules and they started arresting people. And before you knew it, he was the dictator.
Right.
And Trump talks about loving dictators all the time. And he talks about how he wishes all his generals would follow his orders like other dictators. And he talks about how he likes the way this dictator rules with an iron fist. Like, isn't that enough to go, man, maybe I'll just vote for Harris just so we can calm this side down a little bit. Like, you know what I mean? Because
Sure. I totally agree with you. I mean, I think some of the things he says incite people.
yeah,
And I think but I think it's bigger than that. I think there are so many people in this country, whether they're on the left, whether they're on the right, whether they're in the middle, that just feel marginalized. Like nobody cares about me.
agreed.
Nobody's listening to me. I've
Mhm.
got problems and you're supposed to help me. You're the government. I
Yep.
mean, I'm not saying I want to hand out. I want to hand up. Give me,
Yeah.
help me
Make
out here.
make me be able to have a chance.
Exactly. Exactly. And I
And
think
don't feed me
because
this
of
American
that,
dream shit.
right, because of that, people are willing to grasp at anything,
Yeah.
including a nut, sometimes like Trump, or a nut,
Yeah.
sometimes like Harris or Biden, that say things that, yes, I feel like I got a voice here. So I think this is bigger than all this Trump stuff. I think it's a case of where
It
America
is.
is,
I agree.
you know.
One of the things that happens in a capitalist society, according to history anyway, is they crash eventually. I mean,
Yeah.
capitalism kind of eats itself because eventually the rich and the corporations get so much money that they can afford to change rules so that they can have things like monopolies and tax cuts and no regulations. No, they don't have to pay they get rid of unions because they're so powerful. And before you know it, that kind of leads towards a crashed capitalist system. I mean, that's one of the problems with capitalism. And I feel like capitalism is probably the only thing that's ever come close to really working. And I think the only people that really try to regulate capitalism is Democrats. Republicans usually I feel like they're always like, let's let loose on regulations completely. And that might be an exaggeration, but they definitely seem to be that way. And Trump's definitely on board with that. He wants to do all kinds of stuff. I mean, he wants. I mean, he in the last administration, he didn't he appoint the head of a oil company as the head of the EPA, who the head was the guy that was trying to stop the EPA from existing, and then there's DeVos, he who's got heavy money into public school or private schools, and he made her the head of the education system. That scares the shit out of me. Because those are
Well,
real things that happened.
and Colorado in this ballot term, in this ballot cycle, is deciding whether we can have school choice. In other words, we can take public funds and use them to send kids to, charter schools or private schools or whatever. And I think again, that's the solution to the problem that our education system is broken. It's horrible. I mean, I've got a 28-year-old daughter who's already said, my kids will either go to private school or I will homeschool them. They will not go to public school.
I guess it depends on where you live, actually.
It does. Yeah. I mean, if you're in the inner city of Chicago or Detroit or LA or something like that, yeah, you're probably not getting a great education.
And that's kind of what I feel. I feel like public schools should probably just be funded better. And of course, then people go, where do you get the money? Well, one of the things on here is tax breaks, and that to segue into that, unless you have something else to say about our
No.
In the 50s, the rich were taxed sometimes 90%, 95%. And the idea was, nobody should have that much money, because when you have that much money, you have too much power, which makes you be able to start doing things like pay politicians, which is another thing with the whole Citizens United, and making it so money is speech somehow, and you can just make super PACs that make commercials for, the whole deal.
Yeah.
I mean, money in politics is ultimately the worst thing in this country right now, I would say. But how do you feel about like tax cuts? Like, for instance, to give you a starting point, Trump's always talking about how he lowered taxes. Well, he lowered taxes for the corporations and the rich and the middle class. But the middle class, you notice how they made it expire in 2025. The others didn't expire, just the ones for the middle class. Why is that? Is that maybe to get elected again, possibly, or but you'd think that if you really were the man of the people, you would I mean, Bernie Sanders wouldn't have done that. He's the real man of the people. Whether you agree with him or not, he's for the people, without a doubt. But
yeah, after himself, I would say Bernie's for the people. Yes, he's probably more for the people than a lot of the politicians are. I will totally agree with you there. But I still have no problem, especially in this country. Corporations employ people. I mean, if you're going to tax them, it's like, oh, you're going to tax the companies, you're going to hurt them. No, you're not. All they're going to do is pass that on in their product to you and me that want to buy the Big Mac, or that want to buy the easy chair, or the whatever it ends up being. So if companies are innovating, if they're developing, if they're coming up with new services, new products, new customers, I'm all for that. I'm because that creates jobs. And I want people to have good paying jobs that they can support their families on, and not have to have 3 jobs because I can't live on this. I also think it's hilarious that somebody at Starbucks makes $25 an hour to make you a cup of coffee. But I mean, that's.
Well, $25 an hour isn't what it used to be either.
It's certainly not. No, I mean, my wife and I were talking about
the old $10 an hour, really.
Yeah. I mean, when I graduated from college, we both graduated in 1982. My wife's first job out of college was a professional job, $12,000 a year. My first job was in the corporate headquarters of Wendy's International, the hamburger chain, in their marketing department. $15,000 a year.
Yeah.
I mean, now granted, that was 40 years ago, so the dollar was different, but.
So yes, I liked what you said. I agree with you, but corporations don't do that. I mean, otherwise CEOs wouldn't get billions of dollars in bonuses. I mean, look at the 2008 crash. We bailed them out, and the CEOs got bonuses. Like they didn't like, here's a whole bunch of money from the taxpayers. What are you doing? And they're like, oh, here's some bonuses for all the CEOs. What? So tax cuts don't do a very good job of innovation, which is why I think regulations should be put in place. Like, hey, you get tax cuts, you have to spend a certain amount on innovation, your employees, like, have some rules with what
I got no problem with that.
Yeah. I mean, but the problem is that's not where it is right now. Trump goes, I want to do tax cuts. All he's doing is giving money to people that are paying him right now for his campaign. It's all that is. Not say, oh,
but that's always the way it's been. I mean,
yes.
Yeah. I mean,
yes. I'm. By the way, let me just say something about Harris. When she ran last time for president, I had nothing but bad things to say about her. And I have those exact same things to say about her. It's really how much I hate Trump
I
that
understand.
that is it. She's a corporate Democrat. She's not a radical left crazy lunatic. She is a corporate centered Democrat that gets paid by pretty much the same people that Trump's getting paid by.
Yeah.
So when people are like, she's a radical left, I'm like, no, 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 she's not at all. No, we're all Republicans now. We're just far, far Republicans and middle Republicans. Like
Yeah,
it's just
it's money. I mean, you look at and
yeah.
you and I may have talked about this, on our first podcast. I mean, what's Harris raised $1 billion for her campaign? $1 billion. How much money? How much of that could have been taken to help the poor or the veterans or anybody? I mean, pick a group.
I
Oh,
got
we're
a
going to spend $1
text.
billion.
I got a text today. I delete them immediately because I can't stand the
Yeah.
wanting of money on I did my $47 like a month ago and I'm done because I don't trust these people anybody with money, any of the politicians. I think they're all and it actually said I started off, I didn't read the whole thing, but I'm on my knees begging you, we need money, blah 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 blah. And I was just like, no, you don't. No, you fucking don't. You do not. I don't believe you. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, I know for a fact that the Harris campaign has raised way more money than the Trump campaign.
Yep.
So what is that shit? But then all right. So when Trump first said he was going to be president, he was traveling around. He came to Burlington, Vermont, and my
Okay.
wife at the time, her friend was a Trump fan. I'm going to say because of the show and stuff.
Mhm.
The whatever that show is called where he fires people.
The Apprentice or
Apprentice. Yeah. So she went with her because at that time it was just, oh, this funny. This guy's running for president. Da da da. Um, well, he when he was there, what was I saying? By the way, I decided not to take my Adderall because I wanted to be surprised by things and act like I usually am when my Adderalls run out, and that's going to cause times where I forget what I was saying. Just so you
no
know.
problem.
Um, so wait, what the hell was it we were just talking about? We're talking about oh, money.
Yeah,
Um,
your wife went with a friend when Trump was running
yeah,
the first time.
yes, and I have no idea what I was going with that.
That's okay. That happens to me all the time. Don't feel bad.
The trouble is I'm getting older and I started this way. It's
No
like
problem
people
with
like,
that.
boy, it's gonna get worse as you get older. I'm like, please don't tell me that. I've been forgetful my entire life with ADHD because I'm like, butterfly, what's and it just like for instance, maybe you can help me a little bit because when you're talking, if you start off on a subject, like let's just call it a subject, and you transition to a subject, I might have had something to say about that. I probably should have a notepad, to be honest with you. I'll forget what I was going to say there, and
Gotcha.
and sometimes I won't hear what you say here because I'm like repeating what I'm what my
I understand.
question was there. But then they'll say something here. I'll be like, oh, I want to talk about that now, and they'll be like, oh shit, what was that? It's just to
Just
give you
tell
an
the
idea.
audience, it's like a Super Bowl went off in the room. It's all over the place. We're not making any promises here.
So that being said, all that stuff about taxes and stuff, do you agree that you said that you agree that there should be regulations on what happens with the money that you
I have
get
no
for your
problem with
taxes?
that. I
Yeah.
have no problem with saying you've got to invest that into your company, into your business, make your employees' lives better, whatever you end up doing. Yeah.
Doesn't it doesn't it kind of like isn't it kind of obvious that they should do that? Like I know you have no problem with it, but isn't it kind of like, of course, don't give your CEOs bonuses when we just gave you a huge tax cut and you've been telling us that you're going to do innovation and help your employees, but then they like lay people off, take the money, give it to they buy or they do share buybacks. Oh my God, it's such an fu to people. It is such an fu to the people of this country when they do that. And I don't think people even understand it or something, or they don't care, or they I don't know. I don't know what is that? How
I
do you
don't know either. I mean, I think, you and
oh.
I can, take issues and discuss them, but I mean, let's face it, when you got three kids and, they got practice and you're trying to eat dinner and they're trying to go to school and you got to do their homework, do they
Yeah,
really care about this stuff?
you don't have time.
No,
You don't have time to hear about it.
no, they
Yeah,
don't have time. They're trying to do the best they can for their family.
you're
I
right.
mean,
You're right.
which I think is a shame, but I get it, you know.
Yeah, but it's yeah, you're so true. I it amazes me sometimes because I'm obsessed with politics for some
Mhm.
reason. I right now, honestly, for like 3 years while Biden was president, I was kind of like taking a break almost because I didn't even hear about bad or good things, and I heard about them later and stuff. But I just needed a break after the whole thing because there was just so much was going on during the Trump administration. I was just like, ah. um. Okay, so what about crime rates? What are your thoughts on crime rates?
So I was listening to remember a guy by the name of John Stossel?
I don't know the
No,
name.
so I'm going to say years ago, he worked for ABC. He was kind of an investigative reporter, and he's kind of out on his own now. And he releases a video, short video, 6, 7 minute video every Tuesday. And I always try to watch him because I think he's fair. It's like, okay, if I'm going to have this viewpoint on, then I'm going to get somebody to have the opposite viewpoint, and we're going to discuss this. And he talked about the whole activist thing about, defund the police. And there's a guy I want to say from the New York Times that wrote a book about this whole how activism is incredibly lucrative. And I know I just did what I told you I wouldn't do, which is basically change the subject. But so I mean, but what they talked about with the whole crime rate situation was because all these people jumped on the defund the police bandwagon, and I can speak to this. I have friends that are in law enforcement that are basically like, we get out a roll call, we all go somewhere and we sit and we wait for the radio to go off. And then wherever the run is, we all go to the run. Whoever beat it's on, they take care of whatever it is, and then we all go back and we sit. So there's no proactive, I'm not going to say there's not nearly the amount of proactive policing that used to be done. And
Okay.
I mean, I can't tell you how many cars I pulled over because I still remember it, 5031 Cincinnati city code that says you need to have a license plate light on your car. So I'm going to pull you over at 3 o'clock. That's my probable cause. Now I can't tell you how many wanted people, guns, dope, runaways that I got out of those ridiculous.
Mm,
You didn't have a license plate light
yeah.
stops, but those things helped with crime.
Yeah.
And now nobody's doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, and all the bad guys know it.
Yeah.
They know, yeah, I'm not going to get stopped. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I was in the drug unit, we stopped a guy who had $88,000 in cash in his car. And we're
Hmm.
like,
Wow.
you realize, because we found the dope, it was hidden in the engine block. We found the
Uh,
dope. It's like, you realize that $88,000 is going to be part of, it's going to the county now, and we're going to get a part of it. So, why didn't you leave it at home? And you know what his response was? Everybody knows I'm a drug dealer. Everybody knows where I live. If I leave the $88,000 at home, when I leave, they break into my house, they steal my
and you can't
$88,000.
call the cops.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take it with me and
Yeah.
hope I don't get stopped. Well, I got stopped tonight. So
Wow. Yeah, the defund the police thing is a I'll tell you, I feel a little bit like I was duped by my side a little bit because here's how it went down with me.
okay,
George Floyd was murdered in my obviously.
okay.
Um and then there was an outcry. The police and of course with cameras on phones, you see a lot more of what people have been saying for years that in a lot of cities, black people are targeted a lot more than white people. I think there's enough evidence out there for most people to agree, and they could say you could say that well, black people will commit more crimes. You could say that, and then you can get into the argument about well, yes, because they're of redlining and they live in poverty more often. And I mean, there's a reason for it. There's a reason why it's called systemic racism is because it's deeper than that. So we understand why it's happening. So but there was like, let's attack the police. And then what the right would say is, don't defund it because then there'll be crimes everywhere. And then the left would say, defund the police doesn't mean take money away from the police. It means reallocate the money to things like more training or less military weapons and more into like, getting social workers and stuff like that. Because I've heard this, and you'd be able to tell me this better than I than that. Most of the time when a police officer is called to a scene, a social worker might have been a better choice without a gun than a police officer. I don't know if you agree with that.
Sometimes to a point, yes. I mean, I've always said if we didn't have as much mental illness, drug addiction, and
Yeah.
alcoholism, we wouldn't nearly as many cops because
Yeah.
90% of what we dealt with had to be one of those three things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I get that. And that's great. But at the same time, it's what's the catch-all? Well, it's kind of like the whole, okay, all this fentanyl floods the streets, and now the cops get on scene, and now I've got to administer Narcan. Well, wait a minute. I'm not a medic. Why do I have to administer Narcan? I don't carry nitroglycerin with me in case I'm on the scene of somebody that has a heart attack. I don't carry insulin with me in case I encounter somebody with a diabetic situation. But now all of a sudden, now I'm a medic, and I'm a priest, and I'm a social worker, and I'm a lawyer, and it's like, well, what else would give it to the cops? Cops will do it. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
That's interesting. So, so in other words, the fentanyl epidemic has become so bad that they've required police to have Narcan on them.
Yeah, yeah, because this guy passed. I mean, I will never forget my very first ever run as a police officer was to a Burger King, because this guy had gotten 12 months in the county jail. He had this much of a habit. He detoxed. He gets out. The day he got out, he went and he bought that much dope because he thought that's what his habit was. My very first run was him dead on the toilet with the needle still in his arm. That was my very first run. Here's a guy who thought he had X, didn't even realize that he detox, that he'd gotten it out of his system. He didn't need that much to get high. He gave himself a fatal dose. That was my very first run.
Oh, wow. God, jeez. Wow, that's insane. First of all, another thing, I could never be a police officer. I don't have it in me. So I respect that you could. And you're a hostage negotiator, and we're in SWAT.
Right.
I'm a person that likes to sing and play video games, and I'm a podcast person, and I also like to act and make movies. So I don't have it in me to be a cop. Although I have played a cop several times, and apparently I look like a cop according to directors. So
there you go. See, it's
like,
in you.
A cop again?
Really? Am I getting stereotyped?
Yeah. Okay. Well then. So how do you feel Trump is better than Harris if he is on crime? Just the no defund the police would probably be the reason I'm saying.
I mean, and I totally agree with you. Police, we always need more training. I mean, I would say that was the one thing we were lacking. I mean, as on SWAT, we train a lot. We train monthly, but as a police officer, I got basically 1 week to learn the new laws, to learn different tactics to deal with people, to learn de-escalation tactics to do 1 week out of the year.
That's
what you're giving me. Because I mean, Cincinnati, Ohio is a big city. It's a big department. We got to get everybody through all this training. So you get your 1 week.
Wow, Jesus, 1 week. Oh my God, that brings up so many questions. Do you feel as though do you think police get paid enough, or do you think they should get paid way more than they do? I mean,
we were a union. We were a union, so it was collective bargaining and you always felt you weren't getting enough. I mean, I got time and a half or double time and a half when I was on SWAT. I worked the night shift. If I had to go to court in the morning, there was no night court, I got paid extra to go to court. Now, what's the trade-off? Well, I should be home sleeping because I need enough rest in order to make good decisions at 3 o'clock in the morning whether to shoot this person or not. And there were many times I would go to work on 2 or 3 or 4 hours of sleep. That's not smart. That's not healthy. And that's not looking at, from a perspective of a good outcome. Nobody talks
Yeah.
about that.
Oh yeah, that's
You know,
yeah.
it's, oh, you shot that guy. Oh, crap. You only had 2 hours
Yeah.
of sleep. Nobody talks about that. That never comes up in court or anything like that.
Yeah. It really that definitely should because I mean they have that whole thing if you are sleeping you have like a certain amount of time after you wake up that you're like absolved of any crime or
Yeah,
something.
it's like, what?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm correct on that, but I've heard it somewhere. I could be completely wrong, but um so what I've always felt would be great for police would be treat well actually one more question about that would you have gone to more school would you have gotten more education into police if it were required or did you want to be a police officer that much or would you have been like a doctor like would like if you hadn't needed that much training.
I mean, I've got a bachelor's of science in business. I've got a master's in criminal justice, and I spent 2.5 years in law
You're
school. So, I
qualified.
mean, I've got quite a bit of training. I
Well,
got quite a bit of education.
then I
But you
think
and
you
I
should be
both
paid like a
know,
doctor.
yeah, but you and I both know there are really bad doctors.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, just because you have all these degrees doesn't make you smart. Doesn't,
right,
and there's a lot of dumb, educated people around here. And
yeah,
so I have no problem with organizations like where we live in Colorado. You need a college degree before they'll hire you.
okay.
Okay.
That's not
I've
everywhere
got no
though.
problem with education. I think it just makes you a better human being all the way around. So I got
Right.
no problem with that.
But if the education is targeted so almost so that it would weed out people with the wrong disposition. I feel as though I know a lot of cops. I have good cop friends, and I think they're wonderful people, but they're alphas. They're the type that would be like, "What? Fuck!" If something happened, or if I'm somebody that would be like, "Hold on, man, calm down." That I just there's a personality that I think almost you need to have to be a cop and shouldn't have to be a cop. Like it's like it feels like like I said, I'd be a terrible cop because I would feel bad for everybody that I was about to arrest. Because I just naturally feel bad for people that are going through something bad. I can't stop myself from feeling that way, and I can see myself being lackadaisy about it. So you do need someone that's a little bit more of a stronger personality, I guess alpha, I suppose. But is it possible that we could psychologically weed out people that are maybe a little bit aggressive, too aggressive? Is that
Yes.
something the
Totally. And I'll give you, I'll use myself and my partner as an
okay.
example. We were two white people that ran
Mm-hmm.
an entirely black area with a
Mm-hmm.
lot of guns, a lot of dope, a lot of violence. We led our relief in almost every category: felony arrest, misdemeanor arrest, drugs recovered, guns recovered, parkers, movers, whatever the hell you want to call it. And we never got complained on. And the reason we didn't, and I think it's kind of like what you're talking about. If I start here,
Yeah.
I got nowhere to go. But if I start
Amen.
here, I can always go there.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't have to, and I think that was it. It was the golden rule: treat people the way you'd want to be treated
Mm-hmm.
until they turn into an asshole. And then you know what? I can be a bigger asshole. Pardon my
Right.
French.
No.
I mean, you're not going to win. All I got to do is get on the radio and say help, and I'll have 300 cops here.
Yeah.
You're not going to win. You're
Right.
not going to win that.
Right.
But yes, and I'll be honest with you, in like the 10 years I worked for Cincinnati, there's only one guy that I can honestly say, yeah, you shouldn't have been a cop. You shouldn't have gotten through the
Okay.
academy. You shouldn't have gotten through the process. And he ended up getting fired, and he ended up killing himself because he got fired.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the only person. I mean, people think we get up in the morning and it's like we want to lock everybody up and we want to shoot black people. I'm telling you, I've never shot anybody, but I know people who have shot people.
Right.
It lives with you for the rest of your life, especially if you kill them. It lives with you for
Oh,
the rest of your life. I don't care
I'm
what the color of
sure.
their skin is. I don't care how bad they are. I don't care
Yeah,
whatever.
I'm sure.
It's not something you want to do ever.
Right. That's super. Wow, what a great perspective. Because, like, obviously, you're not going to hear on the news about all the cops that did their job right today,
Right.
just like everything else on the news. So, like, we do always hear about the bad apples. You know
True.
what I mean? That being said, there seems to be a lot of bad apples along, countrywide. Um, and yes, and I don't think that police that are like you should suffer for that at all. I think you should be. I think you, with all those degrees and your disposition and the way you talk, and you should be paid. I feel like I'm going to back up just a little bit. I used to work at Costco. Costco started people out at like $19 an hour. This is like 15 years ago. Okay. Walmart starts you at like 7 or something. When you go into Costco, they have a very pretty difficult, a high bar, I would say, of person that's going to work there as far as like cashiers and stockers go. All right. So if you go into a Costco, generally you're gonna be like, I like this place, and the people are so helpful, and they're so good at their job, and they get paid pretty well. They have benefits, they have health care, they have stock, all this stuff. I feel as though a lot, much like teachers, teachers and police should have higher expectations and be paid a lot more for it, because of it. And I like you say, a week training for all those subjects. I'm glad that you who you are, because somebody, I know many people that wanted to be police officers, and I'm like, Jesus, aren't you the guy that used to punch me and like chase me around in recess and stuff? Like, I don't think you should be doing. And they're not different now and stuff, and that freaks me out. So I would like that person to be weeded out somehow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what? Maybe you don't got what it takes. I feel like we should treat police like almost like special ops, almost. I know it sounds like, okay, then don't defund them. I agree, don't defund them. I agree that reallocating away from maybe some more military type stances might be a good idea, because I think, like you said, if you start here, I think if you show up in full gear with like an M16 or an or M4,
And
yeah, you're starting here as far as I'm concerned, right off the bat. Just it's like, whoa, what's going on? Um,
But I mean, but that was one of the things we were taught. I mean, you could
mhm,
take just based on what you said and how you said it, you could take a yes person and turn them into a no person, or you
mhm,
could take a no person and turn them into a yes person. And I think what that whole defund the police has done, I'll give you an example. When I was, applying to be a Cincinnati police officer, 3,000 people sat for the test. They were looking for two classes of 50 each. So 100 people out of that 3,000.
mhm.
Today, they're looking for a class of 60. Do you know how many people showed up to take the test?
No.
300.
Hmm.
So what are you going to get
Yeah.
to make? I mean, and you're seeing that. You're seeing the bar being lowered. And it's same in the military. Everything but the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps hasn't lowered one standard at all. But the military is lowering standards. Law enforcement is lowering standards because we need bodies. I don't care if you're good or not. Will you put the uniform on and get in the car?
Right.
We'll figure it out as we go.
Right.
That's
Oh,
that's
geez.
not helpful.
It's
It's
um
going the opposite direction that you're talking about.
our producer Alex, who you've been talking to with emails and stuff, he has a name for it. I don't know if he made it up or not, but it's brilliant. He calls it the shitification.
I
It's
love
he's
that.
like
Should write a book.
it applies to everything, and and it's like you can almost, I mean, like, yeah, it's like I say like a lot, um, and I will keep saying it, damn it, but it's like they like things move towards terrible because higher ups in up the system, not even police, but eventually you get out to people that are trying to make more money by trying to lower cost at the lower tiers of society, almost, um and so that kind of causes this shitification of everything. I mean, that shouldn't be that way, that many people are, that police are getting a week training. I'm and the standards are going down for police to that's insane. It's so important. If you're going to send people out with military gear, they should really be trained really well. just feel like anyway. Um,
They can, but think
oh
about
God.
what makes a good cop? Somebody that can talk to another human being.
Yeah.
Young people can't talk to each other anymore.
Oh yeah, I
They
know.
communicate on those
I
devices.
know.
And if you can't, I mean, if you go to a crime scene and the only way you're a witness and the only way I can talk to you is to text you a message, I mean, think about that. Think about that. But there's
I
so
know.
many kids are like that today. I can't talk to another human being. I can't have a conversation.
You're so right. And I hate it because it makes me sound so old to say that. But like, I mean, because everybody talks about the generation before them, but like, oh,
Yeah.
look at them. Their music sucks. You're not being trained. You're not growing up correctly. Blah, blah, blah. You listen to, like your hair's dumb. Like, why are you doing that? But man, I tell you, I have a child that came into our, when I got married, came into my relationship, and I've known him. Well, he transitioned from girl to a boy, and so I still have a hard time sometimes because I remember Mila. And now it's Nicholas, who, by the way, is way happier now. But my point is that um when we came into the relationship, as she got older, at the time she, now he, um we get to a point, if I put a period at the end of a sentence on a text, she would ask me if I was a, I guess I'm going to say he now, because that's how you say he now, even if you're talking about past, right? He would get very, very sad that I was being upset with him because I put a period at the end of a sentence. And it could be as simple as, um, hey, could you go out and help me with the groceries? Question mark or period. And like, are you mad at me? I'm like, what? What did you do? Like, and like, and yeah, that's you're right. And so now, so after that, I started putting emojis and stuff like happy face, and I'm like, how are you going to do that how's that going to happen in life? Now, I will say, since the transition, he's now a manager at one of those local health grocery stores, and doing really well, and super happy, and has more confidence than he's ever had in his life. So yes, but it could have gone a different way. And I don't know. And also he grew up with me, and I definitely taught a lot about talking and communication, so that might have been it. But if I feel like some kids don't get that, they don't have that communication, like they don't even look at
No, they won't look you in the eye.
you.
They won't,
Yeah,
it's like that's great if you're from an Asian culture, yeah, we don't look you in the eye,
yeah,
I get that. But no, yeah, I mean, the things you and I were taught, you look a man in the eye, you shake their hand, yeah, I mean, common courtesies that are like, wait, nobody got taught that. What?
huh,
No, you can't do that.
that's interesting. We didn't talk about how long you wanted to go. I wanted to make sure, because you that just flew by for
It
me.
did.
So
I'm good for about another 30 minutes if you want
okay,
to still.
totally cool.
Okay.
So then
Pick
let's
another topic
yeah. Well, actually, do you
or
think
stay on this one, whatever you'd like.
do you think we should I kind of want to talk about the abortion issue because of what you said. You said that was your first thing you said last time we were talking. You said, "Well, because of my faith, I can't vote with someone that's for abortion." Could you tell me what your thoughts on that are?
Yeah, I I guess the problem that I have is I have a lot of problems, but I look at that as a human. I mean, people call it a clump of cells, people call it a fetus, I mean, a future human, whatever the heck you want to call it. The thing I find interesting is, and again, I'm not even talking about my faith, but the thing I find interesting is that clump of cells has a unique DNA that is nobody else has. That's how unique, that's how special that is. And we're spending all kinds of money to make sure we protect the spotted owl in this forest or something like that. But I mean, I live in Colorado. It's on the ballot. We're going to put on the ballot in our Constitution, it's okay to murder babies.
Hmm.
and we're going to be happy about it, and we're going to be proud. But then we're going to go out and we're going to save the spotted owl. Like, wait a minute. Something to me just seems backwards about this. I mean, what if, I don't know, Pasteur's mother would have said, yeah, I had a one night stand last night. I got pregnant with you. You're out.
What if Hitler's mother would have had an abortion?
Well, yeah. What if Hitler's? Yeah. I mean, you can go both sides in that. And that's the other part of this argument for me is life has consequences. Decisions you have in your life, they have consequences. Things you do in your life have consequences. And we're basically saying, go out and screw anybody you want. You get pregnant, you just get rid of the baby. It's no big deal. To me, it's a huge deal because you know this, I have cancer. I'm in a wheelchair. I don't have a left leg. What's next? Me? Hey, you're not a productive member of society. You know what? We're going to kill you. Well, okay. I mean, where does it end? It's a right to murder somebody with a unique DNA structure. I don't get it.
I am pro-choice,
Okay.
and the reason I definitely will say something you may not have heard before. I do think you're stopping a human life when you do an abortion, have an abortion. I do not agree with it's not a big deal thing. I have been present and supportive of people that have had abortions, and it is not a no big deal thing. It is something that I know people 20 years now have still talk about how horrifying it was. But and this has been my thing. I've always been like, because people are like, oh, those pro-life people, they're nuts and stuff. I'm like, what do you mean nuts? If they really believe, give them the benefit of the doubt. They believe that you're murdering people. Of course, they're going to be crazy about it. I would be if there was some kind of law that said, hey, when someone's 13, you're allowed to murder them. I would be nuts about that.
Sure.
However, so I had this struggle in my head because I'm logical and I don't like when left wingers say it's not a human, it's not a human. Maybe not, but it still is going to be probably, or maybe, or has the ability to be. What made me finally realize that it's really more about a person's right to their own to have happen whatever they want with their own body was when my my wife at the time's Nana, she was diagnosed with stage 4 or whatever end stage kidney disease is, and she was too old to get on the list for kidney, and I thought to myself, geez, it's too bad there's not more kidneys out there for people to have. And I thought, that's because it's not a law that you have to give your kidney if someone's going to die. And I thought, because you have the right over your body. And so I can't argue with a woman who says my body, however I got pregnant, whatever that is irrelevant to me no matter what. But my body, no one's going to force me to give a kidney, and someone could die. Then no one should be able to force me to put myself through 9 months of pregnancy. And if I feel as though that's going to ruin my life, which it will for a lot of people when they don't have the money to deal with it, I think that is where it ends, is choosing your body. I think choosing what to do with your own body. And I feel like that's the worst freedom you could possibly take away from a human being. But
so can I extrapolate that to, so what does that fetus, what does that clump of cells say? Hey, what about my body? What about mine? It's okay for you to do whatever you want with your body, but you're basically making a decision about my body. Why can you do that about my body?
Well, the same way a person waiting for a kidney would be able to say, why aren't there enough kidneys? Because we have the freedom of our bodies to not be mandated to give kidneys. I mean, there's not even a law that says you have to donate your organs after you're dead.
Right.
That would be really helpful law probably, but there isn't one. And it's just, to me, exactly like the argument for abortion. It's taking the right away from someone's body, whether or not there's a potential child. The only reason why we argue about whether or not it's a human or not is because people worry about suffering. I do not think once it gets to the point where suffering, where that is that is not okay with me at all. Unless again it's going to save the life of the mother, I guess that would be the turning point. But uh, I also feel as though if men could get pregnant, this wouldn't be a conversation. I
But
really believe
you
that.
know what men are saying now? It's like, well, if you have the right to do that, then you know what? I have the right not to pay child support when that kid, if you do decide to have that kid, I can just go out and screw everybody I want because you know what? You can abort a child. You could have aborted it. I don't have to pay child support.
I would say that's a separate topic for
It
those
is. It
really
totally is.
terrible
But
people.
it's ridiculous, I think. But yes, I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's awful. But I mean, because I wanted to go, well, yeah, but and then all the people that are arguing for pro-life then don't want all the benefits to go to people, single moms with children. Like they're the same people that vote against that stuff. So it's like you want the child to definitely be born, and then it's like fuck them. We're gonna fuck education, fuck food stamps, welfare people. I mean, they hate all that stuff that keeps a person going after they're alive. But they really want them to make sure they get out of there because I guess God. I don't. I mean, I think we could even take God out of it because like you said, you believe it's murder, and I'm agreeing with you. It's stopping a human life, which kind of sounds like I'm just bullshitting, but but that's what I think it is. I don't think it's a human yet, but I don't care. It's irrelevant to me. I think it matters that you're stopping a human life. You are. And anyone that argues that you're not is a weirdo, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then I get to my
I
if I
understand.
would want my control over my body. And I can't and I've been in a situation where someone's pregnant before I've had my child. Um and I swear to God, I would have a 25-year-old son or daughter right now, and I don't think I would have made it because I was like 19. I maybe I would have just grown up really fast. I don't know, but
Yeah.
and it was a horrifying experience. I mean, a horrifying experience. Um, but one of the things I don't like most about the pro-life movement is um it affects women's right to have abortions in times when we should definitely let them because they're in trouble. I think that goes way too far. Like if they're going to die, or if the child is definitely like deformed or not going to live, or stuff like that. I think that's where it goes super too far with the pro-life. Um, and I guess it's hard to keep God out. The only reason why I'm not is because I could argue about God all day long. I'm an atheist, so and I don't want to go there with you because
I understand.
it would just be like the floodgates would go. So but like yeah, I guess that's really what it is though, is it comes down to God for you. So it doesn't yeah.
It does. I mean,
Yeah.
if we are created in the image and likeness of God, then that baby, that fetus, that clump of cells, whatever, again, whatever you want to call it, it was made in the image and likeness of the creator of the entire world. I mean, really, I got the cojones to say, you know what? I know better. You made the universe. That's okay. I know it. I know
Right.
better.
So God would want you to, because life is sacred.
Sacred. Yes.
So therefore you should be made to have your body go through with the accident that you had, because like George Carlin says, uh, after you ejaculate, usually right after the phone rings because you startled you, like I mean, or you get raped. Like is there any time where an abortion's okay for you?
It's not. I mean, I look at,
Okay.
I mean, you know my story. I don't have a left leg. I got tumors in my legs. I've
Uh,
been battling, terminal cancer for almost 13 years now.
right.
And it's like, can God use my infirmity to show his power, his mercy, his love, his healing, his and that's how I look at, the fact that I'm deformed now, and I can't do the things I used to
You're
do.
you're altered, but we're all altered. When my eyes don't dilate, don't line up. I can't grow hair right here. So I mean, you're just altered differently. I mean,
I am.
and you've
But
used
can
it.
God use me for a bigger purpose? I guess is what I'm at, and I think he can. And that's why I think I'm
I
still
agree
doing
with
what I'm
you.
doing.
Do you think a random baby is worth more than you?
Is worth more than me. I
Like
think
on
a
a yeah,
random baby is worth as much as me.
I agree with you. I mean, it would only make logical sense. So therefore, let's throw it into you have kidney disease. Should somebody be forced to give their kidney to you to save your life? But sanctity of life, you're going to die. They're not going to like.
Well, we're all going to die. I mean, it's not like,
Well,
I'm going to live
yeah,
forever if I get a kidney. I mean, we all have an expiration date. I mean, I'm an organ donor. I'm like,
me too.
well, I don't need them. I mean, if I'm dead
Exactly.
and they can help somebody else, absolutely. I mean, I've
But
donated every body part that's been hacked off to research. I had to sign a form and, can we use this for research? Hell yes, use it for research. If it can
I'm
help
not
somebody 20 years from now,
100% agree. I am also an organ donor because I figure, hey, it actually makes me feel good. Maybe something will help somebody, you
yeah.
know. Um, but if you're equal to a soon to be baby someday, um, then why shouldn't we all be mandated to be organ donors?
I got no problem with mandating people to be organ donors. I mean, I
That's
really don't. I
that's
mean,
consistent. I appreciate that.
I mean, you're not going to use it. You're either going to burn me or you're going to put me in a box and put me in the ground.
I got
If I
yeah.
can benefit somebody else, why not?
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
No, that I mean, I don't think we should be, but at least you're consistent because most people say no. They go no, and then and so I'm like, oh, okay. So and then obviously it's a it's a it's illogical once you say no.
But I mean, think about, the federal government saying, okay, you got to wear seatbelts. Why? Why can't I go through the
Oh,
windshield when I rear end the
oh, I
back of
know
the
why.
car? And
I know why. I actually had this argument once. I know what it is. It's healthcare cost. Since we since we started wearing seatbelts, healthcare dropped tremendously since we started wearing seatbelts because you just go and you get like a shoulder, and maybe you get a bloody lip or stuff. But healthcare was through the roof, and everybody was flying through windows and stuff. Same way with motorcycle helmets. Yes, it's taking a freedom away, but somebody thought it was a good idea. Let's lower the price of healthcare because people are just turning into hamburger.
well, I mean, think about DUI. I mean, point oh
Yeah.
0.08 is now the federal government said everybody a DUI is point oh 0.08. And if you don't agree with that, then we're not going to give you your state highway funds. So every state's that okay, a DUI is point oh 0.08.
It's like a shakedown. It's like the mafia.
It's exactly what it was. We don't get you don't get your highway funds unless you make point oh 0.08 the legal limit for a DUI in your state.
Is
Okay,
that now? I don't drink or do drugs or anything.
I
And
don't either.
if I take one beer, I'm like the funniest person in the world, and I get really tired. So what is point eight? Because I don't even know.
Point oh 0.08.
Point oh eight. Like, is
Point
that
oh.
a like what should it be? Do you think? Do you think that's too high, too
I got
low?
no problem with point oh 0.08.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I have, I'll never forget this. My partner and I were both DUI trained. We got very good at it. We practiced a lot. But I remember the very first time we were not DUI trained yet. And there was a side swipe downtown. It was a car that side swiped a cab that cabs for you people who are in the audience. That used to be how you got, no,
A,
sorry.
a cab is a Uber,
Yeah, it's
except
kind
he
of an
works for a
Uber or a
company.
Lyft or
Oh
something
wait.
like that. And the cab followed it was a girl, followed her all the way out to our district, which was a long way. We end up pulling her over. We had a sergeant who'd been in the traffic unit for 20 years. He was just riding out his time in our district till he retired. And we put her through our field sobriety test. And my partner and I had an agreement. Unless we both say the person is a DUI, we don't take them. Now we may not let them drive. We may, make them call somebody and come and get them, but we had to both agree. We both said No way. She's not a DUI. The sergeant came over and we were not horizontal gaze nystagmus
Mm-hmm.
trained,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, you kind of knew what to look for. He went
Yeah.
over to her and went, "Watch my finger." He's like, "Take her."
Oh my God.
Jayson, she blew almost 3 times the legal limit.
Oh my God.
She was a functional alcoholic.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
scary.
Yeah, definitely. I do want to go back to the one more the abortion on one thing because I said kidney disease and should people be forced to be organ donors, and I skipped the point where should a person that's alive be forced to give their kidney because that's kind of the actual parallel to a woman being forced to use her body to save a life, basically.
I would. I mean, if you needed a kidney and I could save your life, I got two. I'd certainly give it to you.
I would give you one too, and I'd hope that no one ever asked me because I'd be so scared. But yes, I
Yeah.
would. I would. However, should we lose the right over our body to have to give a kidney? Now, I'll give you the argument that destroys what I just said. It's not the person's fault that they're giving the kidney, so that is missing from the parallel. So it's kind of a dumb argument because, but my point is having control over your body is what changed my mind about it.
And I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I don't agree with it just from
yeah,
my faith point of view, but
yeah.
I can understand
I get it.
where you're coming from.
Yeah. And I've always thought people that are pro-life, I've always understood where they were coming from. Like that people, like I said, they think they're crazy. I'm like, they're not crazy. They're not crazy enough. If they really believe that, if you thought people with this government was murdering people, you'd go nuts. I mean, but yeah, no, wow. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I sometimes get accused, it's like, well, you're a Catholic. And so, if it were up to you, you would get rid of, Planned Parenthood. And I'm like, No, I would get rid of the abortion part of Planned Parenthood, but I would not, pardon my French here, I would not throw the baby out with the bathwater, in this situation. I mean, Planned Parenthood does help women with their reproductive health. And I would never want to take that away from somebody else. It's just the abortion piece of
Yeah.
that I can't live with.
Right. Yeah. I mean, two men talking, arguing or discussing actually
About a woman's body. Yeah,
about
imagine
a
that.
woman's
That's never
body.
happened before.
I know. I guess technically though, women would be like, yeah, I want a right over my body. I guess that would be the argument, is once you start taking people's rights away from their body, it gets a little scary that at that point, and that's where I feel like this country is on its way to fascism. I really do. I feel like it's just inevitable. Even not even Trump. I think. Have you ever heard of the ratchet effect, where Republican gets into office and we go to the right, and then a Democrat and we go one back. And
Yeah.
now you got Harris, who everybody's like, she's a radical. No, she's actually 20 years ago Republican, without a doubt, like center right Republican 20 years ago. Um, and I feel like that eventually leads to fascism, because of just the way everything becomes condensed into a funnel to rich people. Eventually, it's all about the rich people controlling. So therefore, you've got a leader who bows to the rich people. You've got an oligarchy who are paying for everybody. Everybody's on the payroll, and the poor are just can't argue because if they quit their job, they don't have health care because health care is not a human right for some reason. In a government that's the richest government that's ever existed, we still rely on healthcare for our employers because there's so many people that are poor and unemployed. You don't want to fight for anything because you don't want to lose your job and lose your healthcare. So unions start getting taken away, and before you know it, people are working 3 jobs and for nothing, and our quality of life keeps going down, and we don't have any power because the rich people have completely taken it from us. Because I have no problem with people being rich. I have a problem with people using their money to control the system. And that's what they're doing right now. All of them, not just the
But I
right.
mean, you could argue that the start of this country. I mean, everybody that signed the Declaration of Independence was loaded
Sure.
compared to everybody else. You
I
know,
agree. I agree. I agree with you. And but yet they somehow made it wanted to make all those checks and balances that kind of has started to have been slowly being whittled away. I mean, Citizens United is ridiculous. I mean, to be able to have a company spend as much as they want in the super PAC that they create, and then that super PAC can just make ads for anybody they want, as long as it isn't a donation to the
the
actual
candidate. Yeah,
candidate. That's fucked
that's
up.
absurd.
It's just fucked up because then you're stuck with only these rich people that have no idea about. I mean, sure, Kamala Harris, she started at a certain place, but she's been rich long enough where I think she may have lost touch. I think she is way more in touch with everybody compared to Trump. Trump's not even in touch with his kids, let alone poor people. I mean, that's he says that actually, like it's so. I just
But
feel
I
like
think that, don't you think that though? I mean, I'll give you an example. I think that permeates down even, I mean, I'll go back to my law enforcement career. I remember I got stopped by the captain one time and he's like, here, he said, Terry, read this. It was a use of force report. And there was a radio run that said a woman was sitting on the back deck of a Cadillac convertible and she had a gun and she was waving a gun around. And so, okay, so it's a gun run, no problem. So the cops get there, they stay behind cover, they order the woman down on the ground. They don't see the gun. She's not waving it when they get there, but they order her down on the ground. I mean, matches the description, the car, the what she's wearing, everything. She won't do it. So they tase her. They use a taser on her, subdue her, find the gun in her waistband, handcuff her, and go. The captain's like, why didn't they just walk up on her? And I'm like, sir, do you understand this was a gun run? Yeah, but they didn't see a gun when they got there. I'm like, oh my God, you're the captain. You run this district and you don't see that what they did was tactically, from a SWAT person,
yeah, yeah,
tactically superior. That was a great
yeah,
move. Order
yeah,
her down. She doesn't listen. You tase her. You're at a distance. You're safe. She didn't get hurt.
right,
I'm like, you are so out of touch because you're
yeah,
sitting behind a desk pushing paper.
yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. Do you think do you think Trump cares about working class and poor people?
Yeah,
Really?
I do. I do. I do. I mean, does
Wow.
Trump care more about Trump than working class and poor people? Yes. Yes. Trump cares more about Trump than those people. But I do think he cares.
So
I think Kamala cares. I mean, I'm not going to,
see
say
now here you
what.
go. Here we go. I don't think she cares that much. I just think she doesn't have the same terrible tendencies toward like Kamala is I think Kamala has the ability to care and she has the ability to be swayed barely because she's kind of a flip-flopper. So like, oh, the wind's
Yeah.
blowing that way. I guess Medicare for all. Oh, it's not going that way. Not Medicare for all. Like, and so I actually like that about her because I feel like enough progressives, and for my own thoughts, enough progressives can get on her. She can go, well, maybe I'll start doing that instead, and I think that's possible. I feel like Trump hates us all with a passion. Actually, I'll take the passion away because I think he's a narcissist and a
Oh,
sociopath.
absolutely. Yes.
Well, a narcissist, well, he narcissists don't care about people, so they can't care about the working class. Like that's the thing. Like and I think he would just like he's done in to the guy that built the skating rink back when he was the skating rink that he was the only Trump was the only one that could build the skating rink, and he told the construction worker, the head of the construction company, don't worry, I'm not going to pay you, but you're going to get all the credit for fixing this skating rink that nobody ever could fix. Even the mayor couldn't fix it. And then when it was done, he was pushed aside, and it was like, Trump saved the skating rink. He has done that so many times. He remember the girls that were like that danced for him in the weird stupid outfits, and they're just like, Trump. He didn't pay them. Like they had to take him to court, and they lost because he spent more money to beat them.
Yeah.
Um, there, I mean, you've heard them all. Do you think do you think all of them are fake, or do you think that's the sign of someone that doesn't care about other people?
I, I, I I am, and I think I'm probably in the majority of this. I don't care who the politician is. I think politicians care more about themselves and how they can line their pockets than they do about you and me. Now, don't get me wrong. I think from time to time, hey, this would be a good thing to do. Let's throw them a bone and stuff like that. And I think that's the case. And they always say, local politics, all politics is local. At the federal level, it's all local. And I to agree, I agree with that. But I mean, I look at the ads that are running in our state in Colorado, and okay, you're saying this, and the other person's saying the exact same opposite. Where is the truth in advertising? I thought you couldn't put a campaign ad out that you couldn't say, yes, here's the facts and here's where I got it. Otherwise, you get sanctioned. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought that was at some point in
No,
our,
they can lie their ass off.
and they do all the time. I guess the thing that's really bothering me about politics, and I love politics, I think it's great, is that the people in politics don't seem to care about the people they represent.
Mm-hmm.
And that
True. I
that
agree.
to me is
A lot of the time.
that's why you will have a job, because
Mm-hmm.
you're going to represent the majority view in your district.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I mean, I look at AOC, I think she's as dumb as a box of rocks, but
Really?
I think
I don't
she,
get that.
I don't, yeah, I would
Really? Have you
totally.
ever heard her debate somebody? She like destroys people.
Well, she does, but I mean, look who she's debating.
She's
I don't
debating
think,
Republicans in Congress.
I'm not sure we would agree that she destroys people. So,
Well, yes.
but anyway, I mean, I don't want to talk about personalities. And it's
Right.
like, I
Okay.
hate this person. I don't like that person. I mean, we're all human beings,
Mm-hmm.
but we've got to, and we probably never will get back to the point where we care about each other. And that's where we need to be. That's where faith, I hope that
I
happens.
think
I mean, you and
you're
I
a
talked about this.
unicorn though. You're a unicorn Republican.
I
You're not.
am.
A lot of people are
But
not like
Ronald
you.
Reagan and Tip O'Neill, a conservative Republican and a liberal Democrat, could find a way to work together for the betterment of this country. It can happen.
Mm-hmm.
I
Now though
believe it.
is a tough one though.
I didn't say it was easy,
I
but I
know.
think
I
we can
don't.
do it.
God, wow. When you said, this fascinates me because, um, it amazes me when, like, I could turn this into a full show like we just do weekly. I swear to God. It'd be so fun because, like, I genuinely feel you're a good person and you're a super smart person. I really do. And I usually don't feel that way when I'm talking to a conservative. I usually think, what the fuck are they talking about?
You're an idiot, right?
Right. And it's always fascinated me when two people can can see something and have completely different thoughts about what they're like, unless I feel like one of them is mentally deficient in some way. I don't know what that is, but something's wrong because I always believe there's a right answer. I might be crazy for that, but I do believe there's always a right answer. Um, and and so, like, God, when I that flabbergasts me when you say, because, like, I always thought it was just a Republican talking point, like AOC's an idiot. I was like, oh, of course they're going to say that, they're just being hateful. Obviously she's not, but I don't think that's why you say it. And so that makes me go, maybe I need to go and check that shit out some more because I feel like she's really smart, and I feel like I'm pretty smart. So like I feel like I would detect the stupid if she were stupid. You know what I mean? Maybe she's not stupid. Maybe she says things you don't like. Or,
Well,
like, you know what I
but
mean?
Republicans say things I don't like. So, I mean,
Okay, wait. Okay, Trump, smart or stupid? Just, give it a 1 to 10. One is dumb. 10 is
5.
smart. Five. All right. What about Biden? Uh, before he became got dementia and everything.
Confirmed.
Yeah, like him. No, no, now because we didn't do that with Trump. Now I'm going to give him a 2 anyway, so whatever. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
you know, and again,
Maybe a
I
4.
think Biden got elected, and I don't mean to sound cruel by this. Biden got elected because he wasn't Trump.
Oh, absolutely.
You
100%.
know, I mean, I think you could have
He
run the
ran
tooth.
on that.
You could run the Tooth Fairy, and the Tooth Fairy would have won. You know, you
Oh
could have
yeah.
run, you know, Toto the dog, and Toto the dog would have won. Yeah,
Yeah,
I just,
same with Harris. I mean,
yeah,
she's saying a lot of things that are cool, I guess, but honestly, you I could, if I had enough money, I could run and I could beat Trump. Anybody could beat Trump if they have the money, because a lot of people fucking hate him. It's
they
like,
do. But he
yeah.
doesn't help himself. I mean,
No, he
Twitter's the
definitely
worst
doesn't.
thing in the world that ever happened to Donald Trump. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, shut up, stay off the damn thing. Be a leader. You're not a leader.
Well, that's the thing about him, is he doesn't care
No.
about that. He's like, he's just so used to being the king that he doesn't care. Like, let them be mad. That's why he doubles down. Well, he was taught by that lawyer guy that was during Watergate. What's his name? Cones? What's that guy's name? That was oh, I can never remember names. The guy that was involved in Watergate and then became his lawyer for like years and became his mentor
Not
pretty much.
Cohen.
It's not Cohen.
Uh,
Oh, I can't remember it, but you know who I'm talking about, the guy with the crazy eyes that looks like he's gonna kill you and he's in mafia.
oh, that guy. Yes, yes.
um, oh, I can't remember his name, but
Yeah, I know you're talking.
um, yeah, like he was his like teacher for like years and taught him, this is what you do no matter what happens. Always deny and deny and deny and deny and never take fault and just use your money to overpower people that want to sue you. And then when you say you don't care about the politician, I think about that person. That person, like Kamala Harris, has got a lot of crazy stuff behind her that I would normally be saying a lot of stuff about, but they're just like normal politician shit. Like she was too bad on crime, and like there's a couple things like that I don't like about her, like her flip-flopping on Medicare for all. But those are all like seem like normal politician things. And then Trump things are like, you're like a mafia fucking boss or something. Like you're and kind of dumb. Like I just, and a bully, and definitely you're a misogynist. It's just been the audio that just came out recently with Jeffrey Epstein talking to that something Wolf, the reporter, telling him all these things about it he knows about the White House because Trump had told Epstein about it. And then Trump's like, I don't really know Epstein, but we know he's lying, and we know he's been on the airplane. We know he must have been at the island. And this guy's saying that that he has pictures of him and with kids and stuff. And like I don't doubt that. If you told me that Trump was a pedophile, I'd be like, okay, just add that to the list of things that are totally credible. But you're actually saying whatever, as long as the policies I like are put into place.
No, no,
No?
I'm not saying that.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't,
Okay.
I don't think, and I've said this to you before, and I think this is kind of what the comment I made that kind of sparked, like, hey, we should do this,
Hmm.
is that we're the United States of frickin' America. I think we're the best country in the world. You can be anything in this country if you're willing to work for it. And the best we can put out there is Kamala Harris and Donald Trump.
Yeah,
Are you kidding me?
I'm with you there.
Are you kidding me? I mean, I am ashamed that this great country, that this is what we've come to. But I think it shows you where people are. They feel they're so underrepresented and so unheard that I'm willing to take a chance on this unhinged guy that probably is a horrible human being,
Hmm.
because maybe he'll listen to me because he's an outsider. He's not a career politician. He's not somebody who's been in this for a number of years.
Hmm.
That's what I'm willing. And that even bothers me more
Hmm.
than they're not. This is the best we can put up. So
Okay.
it's not. I mean, his policies probably align more with me. Although I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I'm not sure what the hell Harris or Trump stand for. I mean, I wish a debate would be like, all right, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about this? And let's stay on topic. Now, let's not just
Yeah.
insult each
Have s-
other
have
And
somebody go, whoa, whoa, you
yeah,
just deflected. Answer
exactly.
the question, or you no
Exactly.
longer are in the race.
Exactly. I
Yep, you're
mean,
out.
just, be a
I
man, be a
agree.
woman, and tell me what I don't agree with him because this is the way I see it. Okay, great. Now, you know what? As a human being, as an American, I can make an informed choice. This is what she said. This is what he said. I will make an informed choice.
I
I don't know what
agree.
either one of them stand
I
for.
think you should be held to tell the truth and have to have an answer. And if you don't do that, I think it disqualifies you as a candidate. I honestly believe that. No one's gonna do that
No,
because everybody that's rich is in charge of all the rules. So it's not like that's gonna be passed anytime
right.
soon. Well, we are. First of all, I do not think that this country we can be anything we want. I think that's all stacked against us, and I think
I don't. We can be
uh,
anything we want. You can
we
do whatever you want.
there's the ability, but
Yes,
everyone should have the ability to at least meet a level that's has that you have dignity, a roof over your head, and can provide for your family. And I think a lot of people can never get there because of the way our system is set up currently.
I think a
Um,
lot of that has to do with the poor choices and decisions they make in their lives as well.
well, but sometimes people don't have any decisions to make because
You're right. Some people don't.
they've been
And
born
I'm
in.
all for giving you a hand up. I'm
Yeah.
not for, I'm going to give you housing for the rest of your life. Get off your ass and go get a job. Here's a great story. You'll love this. I worked with a guy when I was in the drug unit. He did a search warrant on this guy's house. This guy was selling dope. When we hit the door on this guy's house, he had a fully pimped out, brand new Chevy Impala, the rims, everything. He had $25,000 in cash and he had a closet full of designer suits. I was doing the arrest slip on the guy. And I never treated people badly. I always kind of were interested. We got you. So I said to him, "Do you work?" He's like, "No, I'm on social security disability." I said, "You have full disability?" He said, "Yes." I said, "What is wrong?" You know what he told me? "I tore a tendon in my pinky and I can't work." I was
Mhm.
furious. I mean, I went home that night and I wrote my congressman and my senator, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, if you're convicted of selling drugs, you should not get Social Security disability." I never heard from my congressman or my senator.
I agree with you. I agree with you, but I feel like the story like that is it has so much brings up so much anger in a person. They forget there's a lot of people that aren't like that, and they actually are struggling, and it's because of the situation they've been put in by our terrible system. And so therefore now we get mad at the guy with that's on disability because of his pinky and has an awesome car, and we don't realize that yes, there's always going to be people that screw over the system, and we need to address that without penalizing the people that are just down. I know a woman who has three autistic children. She didn't have three abortions, she had three autistic children. Her husband left, and now she works two jobs and also something under the table. And thank God she's in Vermont because Vermont has a lot of really good care for children and disabilities. Um, but she struggles like you wouldn't believe. This woman is always depressed. The reason now, sure, choices, but she didn't she didn't choose to have autistic children. I mean, she didn't choose to get a divorce because divorces happen sometimes. I mean, and I'm not talking about someone that you'd look at and go, it's trailer trash. This person's smart,
Yeah,
very smart. And there's a bunch of those people too.
there are.
And so to take away support because you're mad at the guy with the nice car and the pinky, that is where I feel like you have to go. I'd rather help people than get revenge essentially on that guy. You know what I mean? Like
And I agree. I mean, I'm not saying take away. I'm just saying why
do
are
it
we
better.
paying this guy when
Yes.
he's got more money in cash than I do,
Right.
and I have a
Exactly.
job. And
Yeah.
the point you make, and my partner and I, we would talk about this a lot. The woman with the three autistic kids, that's who we worked for as cops. That's what I want to have this neighborhood safe so that your kids can be outside playing. so that, if you have to, leave them with a neighbor because you got to take a second job or whatever, that they're going to be safe. That's who we work for. That's how, I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care how much education you have. That's why I became a cop, to help people have that better life and not have to worry about a bullet coming through your window, or the guy, somebody selling dope on the corner right outside your house or something like that. Those are the human beings that we work for.
God, it's I just so you know, I could go 16 hours, but I know that we're past we're 9 minutes past the 30, and I totally respect that. I am so happy you did this. I
am too. This was fun.
Yeah, and I feel like I have a lot of empathy has been eroded from me, that I naturally have empathy, but I started to get very angry about always being attacked instead of because I always want to have a conversation like this.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
and we don't agree on things, but
No.
I also think a lot of the stuff you said is more you were honest. And that's the most important thing to me, is to be honest. So many people lie. They argue dishonestly. And I think that's the biggest problem, for sure. But man, I hope you're right. Well, I'll make a prediction. Where are we right now? One. No one's gonna see this anyway. I'm nobody. I honestly believe that Kamala is going to have Obama like numbers. And the reason why this is my prediction. No one's predicting this shit. Oh, 50-50. No. Go back to 2017. Look at the Women's March. Those people are voting, and the women are gonna turn out. And here it is. I'm not attacking you right now, but so many people, if I said that, they'd be like, "Oh, fuck you!" Blah, blah, blah. Like, whoa. I wasn't saying anything about you. I'm just
No.
But they get so angry.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Everything's got to be homogenized. We all got to.
You're not
have,
Trump.
think. No, you don't.
You're not even close. And I'm going to call you another one of my friends that are conservative that I think have some really good points. That's all there is.
And I would call you one of my friends who is liberal, who has some great points as well. And we can still be friends. And that's great.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, wow, that's crazy. I feel like I did something wrong because I'm feeling okay at the end of this conversation, but like, I feel like, did we do that right? But whatever. Well, thank you again so much for
You're
being
welcome.
here.
Thanks for having me on.
I will extend I will do this anytime. Please don't feel like obligated to do it.
Okay.
I just had a lot of fun, and I legitimately would do this again.
I would do it.
So yeah, anytime you want to have a conversation, maybe after the election would be kind of fun, because
Super.
because right after, if Kamala does win, we know what's going to happen. It might be a good time to try and have people like go, hold on, don't get mad at each other.
That's right.
But anyway, yeah, have a wonderful evening. You're in Colorado, so it's what
8:42.
8:42.
Yep.
Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and thank you for being here, Terry.
Thank you. I enjoyed it, Jayson. You take care.
All right, you too. See you later.
Be good.